हेलो डियर स्टूडेंट्स एंड वेलकम बैक टू द फार्मास्टार एकेडमी। तो आज के इस वीडियो में हम अपकमिंग गवर्नमेंट फार्मासिस्ट जीपैट ड्रग इंस्पेक्टर एग्जाम के लिए नर्वस सिस्टम इस टॉपिक के कुछ क्वेश्चंस देखते हैं। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है, सिलेबस में क्लियरली मेंशन्ड है, सो 100% इसमें से क्वेश्चंस आएंगे। इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियो रहने वाला है स्टूडेंट्स आपके एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन। The structural and functional unit of the nervous system is option A nephron, B osteon, C neuron, D sarcomere. Nephron, it functional unit of the kidney. It is responsible for urine formation. Osteon, it is a structural unit of compact bone. C neuron, it is a structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It is responsible for receiving, processing and transmitting nerve impulses. D sarcomere, functional unit of the skeletal muscle. That's why the correct answer is the option C, neuron. Next question. Which part of the neuron receives impulses? Option A, axon, B, dendrite, C, myelin sheath, D, node of Ranvier. Axon, it carries impulses away from the cell's body. Dendrite, it receives signals from other neurons. It conducts impulses toward the cell body. C, myelin sheath, myelin sheath insulates nerve fibers. Node of Ranvier, it gaps in myelin sheath aiding rapid conduction. That's why the correct answer is the option B, dendrite. Next question. The longest cranial nerve is option A, optic nerve, B, facial nerve, C, vagus nerve, D, olfactory nerve. Optic nerve, it is concerned with vision. Facial nerve, it controls facial muscle. Vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, it extends from brainstem to thoracic and abdominal organs. Olfactory nerve responsible for smell. That's why the correct answer is the option C, vagus. Next question. How many pairs of cranial nerves are present in humans? Option A 10, B 11, C 12, D 13. Yes, human possesses 12 pairs of cranial nerves. That's why the correct answer is the option C, 12. Next question. How many pairs of spinal nerves are present in humans? Option A 29, B 31, C 33, D 35. Yes, the 31 spinal nerves of pair are present in humans. 8 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, 1 coccygeal. That's why the correct answer is the option B, 31. Next question. The brain and spinal cord together form. Option A, peripheral nervous system, B, autonomic nervous system, C, central nervous system, D, somatic nervous system. Peripheral nervous system, it consists of cranial and spinal nerves. Autonomic nervous system, it controls involuntary activities. Central nervous system, it includes brain and spinal cord. Somatic nervous system, it controls voluntary movements. That's why the correct answer is the option C, central nervous system. Next question. The largest part of the brain is option A, cerebellum, B, medulla oblongata, C, cerebrum, D, pons. Cerebellum, it coordinates balance and posture. Medulla oblongata, it controls vital function. Cerebrum, its largest brain region. It is responsible for intelligence, memory, learning, speech and voluntary actions. Pons, it relays signals between brain regions. That's why the correct answer is the option C, cerebrum. Next question. Which part of the brain controls balance and posture? Option A, cerebrum, B, cerebellum, C, thalamus, D, hypothalamus. Cerebrum, it controls higher mental functions. Cerebellum, it maintains balance, posture and coordination. Thalamus, it relays center for sensory information. Hypothalamus, it regulates temperature and endocrine function. That's why the correct answer is the option B, cerebellum. Next question. The protective covering around nerve fibers is called option A, synapse, B, axolemma, C, myelin sheath, D, neurolemma. Synapse, its junctions between neurons. Axolemma, it membranes of axon. C, myelin sheath, fatty insulating layer. It increases speed of impulse conduction. Neurolemma, outer covering of Schwann cell. That's why the correct answer is the option C, myelin sheath. Next question. Which neurotransmitter is released at neuromuscular junction? Option A, dopamine, B, serotonin, C, acetylcholine, D, histamine. Dopamine, it associated with reward and movement. Serotonin, it regulates mood and sleep. Acetylcholine, it released at neuromuscular junction. It initiates muscle contraction. Histamine, it involved in allergic reaction. That's why the correct answer is the option C, acetylcholine. Which structure connects the right and left cerebral hemisphere? Option A thalamus, B corpus callosum, C hypothalamus, D pons. Thalamus. It relays station for sensory impulses. It does not connect cerebral hemisphere. B corpus callosum. It largest commissural fiber tract connects right and left cerebral hemisphere. It allows communication between both sides of the brain. C hypothalamus. It controls body temperature, hunger, thirst. Pons. It is a part of the brain stem. That's why the correct answer is the option B corpus callosum. Next question. The relay center of the brain is option A cerebellum, B thalamus, C medulla, D pons. Cerebellum. It coordinates movement. Thalamus. Major relay center for sensory information. It directs impulses to cerebral cortex. Medulla. It controls vital function. D pons. It conducting pathway. That's why the correct answer is the option B thalamus. Next question. Which part of the brain regulates body temperature? Option A cerebellum, B hypothalamus, C pons, D medulla. Cerebellum. It coordinates movement. Hypothalamus, thermoregulatory center, controls hunger, thirst, sleep, emotions. Pons assists respiration. Medulla controls heartbeat and respiration. That's why the correct answer is the option B hypothalamus. Next question. Which part of the brain controls respiration and heart? Option A cerebrum, B thalamus, C medulla oblongata, D cerebellum. Cerebrum higher mental functions, thalamus sensory relay, medulla oblongata vital center of brain, controls respiration, blood pressure, heart rate. Cerebellum balance and coordination. That's why the correct answer is the option C medulla oblongata. Next question. The cavity present within the brain is called option A canal, B ventricle, C sinus, D fossa. Canal general passageway. Ventricle fluid filled chambers of brain, contains cerebrospinal fluid. Sinus air filled cavity. Fossa depression in bone. That's why the correct answer is the option B ventricle. Next question. Cerebrospinal fluid is mainly produced by option A meninges, B choroid plexus, C neurons, D pituitary gland. Meninges protective membranes, C choroid plexus specialized capillary network produces cerebrospinal fluid. Neurons conduct impulses. D pituitary gland, endocrine gland. That's why the correct answer is the option B choroid plexus. Next question. How many ventricles are present in human brain? Option A 2, B 3, C 4, D 5. The 2 only lateral ventricle, 3 missing fourth ventricle, 4 2 lateral ventricles, third ventricle, fourth ventricle, 5 incorrect. That's why the correct answer is the option C 4. Next question. Which meningeal layer is closest to the brain? Option A dura mater, B arachnoid matter, C pia mater, D epidural matter. Dura mater tough outermost layer, arachnoid matter middle layer, pia mater delicate innermost membrane adheres directly to the brain surface, epidural layer outside dura. That's why the correct answer is the option C pia mater. Next question. Which is the outermost meningeal layer? Option A pia mater, B arachnoid matter, C dura mater, D endosteum. Pia mater innermost layer, arachnoid matter middle layer, dura matter tough fibrous outer covering, endosteum bone lining membrane. That's why the correct answer is the option C dura mater. Next question. The space containing cerebrospinal fluid is option A epidural space, B subdural space, C subarachnoid space, D intracellular space. Epidural space outside dura mater. Subdural space between dura and arachnoid. C subarachnoid space between arachnoid and pia mater filled with cerebrospinal fluid. D intracellular space inside cells. That's why the correct answer is the option C subarachnoid space. तो स्टूडेंट्स फार्मास्टार लाया है जीपैट ड्रग इंस्पेक्टर गवर्नमेंट फार्मासिस्ट के लिए कॉम्बो ऑफर. डाउनलोड द फार्मास्टार एकेडमी ऐप एंड ज्वाइन द बैच. द ब्रेन स्टेम कंसिस्ट ऑफ ऑप्शन ए cerebrum pons thalamus, B midbrain pons medulla, C cerebellum pons medulla, D thalamus hypothalamus pons. Cerebrum is not correct, not part of brainstem. Midbrain pons medulla Yes, it's the brainstem part. Cerebellum, pons, medulla. Cerebellum is separate. Thalamus, hypothalamus, pons. Thalamus and hypothalamus are diencephalon structure. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Next question. Which lobe of the cerebrum is responsible for vision? Option A, frontal lobe. B, parietal lobe. C, occipital lobe. D, temporal lobe. Frontal lobe, motor functions and reasoning. Parietal lobe, sensory interpretation. Occipital lobe, visual center of brain. Temporal lobe, hearing and memory. The brain stem consists of option A, cerebrum, pons, thalamus. B, midbrain, pons, medulla. C, cerebellum, pons, medulla. D, thalamus, hypothalamus, pons. Option A, cerebrum is not a part of brainstem. Option B, correct. Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. It's the part of brainstem. C, cerebellum is separate. D, thalamus and hypothalamus are diencephalon structure. That's why the correct answer is the option B, midbrain, pons, medulla. Next question. Which lobe of the cerebrum is responsible for vision? Option A, frontal lobe. B, parietal lobe. C, occipital lobe. D, temporal lobe. Frontal lobe, motor functions and reasoning. Parietal lobe, sensory interpretation. Occipital lobe, visual center of brain. Temporal lobe, hearing and memory. That's why the correct answer is the option C, occipital lobe. Which lobe contains the auditory center? Option A, frontal. B, temporal. C, occipital. D, parietal. Frontal, motor control. Temporal, hearing, memory, language. Occipital, vision. Parietal, somatic sensation. That's why the correct answer is the option B, temporal. Next question. The cerebrospinal fluid functions to option A, digest food. B, produce hormones. C, protect and cushions CNS. D, form blood cells. Digest food, digestive system function, produce hormones, endocrine function, protect and cushion CNS, acts as a shock absorber, maintains chemical environment, form blood cell, bone marrow function. That's why the correct answer is the option C, protect and cushion CNS. Next question. Which lobe is primarily responsible for voluntary motor activity? Option A, occipital. B, temporal. C, frontal. D, parietal. Occipital, vision center. Temporal, hearing and memory. Frontal, contains primary motor cortex, control voluntary skeletal muscle movement. Parietal, sensory perception. That's why the correct answer is the option C, frontal. Next question. The peripheral nervous system PNS consists of option A, brain and spinal cord. B, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. C, cerebrum and cerebellum. D, brainstem and spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord, these form the central nervous system CNS. Cranial nerve and spinal nerves. PNS consists of all nerve outside CNS, include 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Cerebrum and cerebellum, parts of brain. Brainstem and spinal cord, components of CNS. That's why the correct answer is the option B, cranial nerve and spinal nerves. Next question. How many pairs of cranial nerves are present in humans? Option A, 10. B, 11. C, 12. D, 31. 10 not correct. 12 not correct. 12 pairs originate from the brain. Yes, correct. D, 31 refers to the spinal nerve. That's why the correct answer is the option C, 12. Next question. How many pairs of spinal nerves are present in humans? A, 29. B, 30. C, 31. D, 33. 29 not correct. 30 not correct. 31 yes. 8 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, 1 coccygeal. D, 33 number of vertebrae. That's why the correct answer is the option C, 31. Next question. The vagus nerve is the option A, first cranial nerve. B, fifth cranial nerve. C, 10th cranial nerve. D, 12th cranial nerve. First cranial nerve, olfactory nerve. Fifth cranial nerve, trigeminal nerve. 10th cranial nerve, longest cranial nerve, supplies heart, lungs and gastrointestinal tract. 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal nerve. That's why the correct answer is the option C. Next question. Which cranial nerve is responsible for smell? Option A, optic nerve. B, olfactory nerve. C, facial nerve. D, vestibulocochlear nerve. optic nerve, vision. B. Olfactory nerve, cranial nerve 1. Carriage, smell, sensation. Facial nerve, facial expression. D. Vestibulocochlear nerve, hearing and balance. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Olfactory nerve. Next question. Which cranial nerve is responsible for vision? Option A. Olfactory nerve. B. Facial nerve. C. Optic nerve. D. Vagus nerve. Olfactory nerve, smell. Facial nerve, facial muscle. Optic nerve, cranial nerve 2, responsible for vision. Vagus nerve, parasympathetic function. That's why the correct answer is the option C. Optic nerve. Which cranial nerve controls facial expression? Option A. Facial nerve. B. Optic nerve. C. Trigeminal nerve. D. Olfactory nerve. Facial nerve, cranial nerve 7, control muscle of facial expression. Optic nerve, vision. Trigeminal nerve, mastication and facial sensation. Olfactory nerve, smell. That's why the correct answer is the option A. Facial nerve. Which cranial nerve is responsible for hearing? Option A. Facial nerve. B. Vestibulocochlear nerve. C. Vagus nerve. D. Trochlear nerve. Facial nerve, facial movements. Vestibulocochlear nerve, cranial nerve 8, responsible for hearing and equilibrium. Vagus nerve, autonomic function. Trochlear nerve, eye movement. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Vestibulocochlear nerve. The autonomic nervous system controls. Option A. Voluntary activities. B. Involuntary activities. C. Memory. D. Intelligence. Voluntary activities. It is controlled by somatic nervous system. Involuntary activities control heart rate, digestion and gland secretion. Memory, cerebrum function. Intelligence, cerebral cortex function. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Involuntary activities. Which division of ANS is called the fight or flight system? Option A. Parasympathetic division. B. Sympathetic division. C. Somatic division. D. Sensory division. Parasympathetic division, rest and digest. B. Sympathetic division, prepares body for emergencies, increase heart rate and blood pressure. Somatic division, voluntary movement. Sensory division, carries sensory impulses. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Sympathetic division. Next question. Which division is called the rest and digest system? Option A. Sympathetic. B. Somatic. C. Parasympathetic. D. Motor. Sympathetic, stress response. Somatic, voluntary control. Parasympathetic, conserves energy, stimulate digestion. Motor, general term. That's why the correct answer is the option C. Parasympathetic. Neurotransmitter released by parasympathetic nerve is option A. Dopamine. B. Acetylcholine. C. Histamine. D. Serotonin. Dopamine, CNS neurotransmitter. Acetylcholine, primary parasympathetic neurotransmitter. Histamine, allergic responses. D. Serotonin, mood regulation. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Acetylcholine. Next question. Main neurotransmitter released by sympathetic postganglionic fiber is option A. Acetylcholine. B. Norepinephrine. C. GABA. D. Glycine. Acetylcholine mostly parasympathetic. Norepinephrine products fight or flight effects. GABA, CNS inhibitory neurotransmitter. Glycine, inhibitory neurotransmitter in spinal cord. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Norepinephrine. Next question. Which nervous system controls skeletal muscle? Option A. Autonomic nervous system. B. Somatic nervous system. C. Sympathetic nervous system. D. Parasympathetic nervous system. Autonomic, involuntary organs. B. Somatic, controls voluntary skeletal muscle activity. C. Sympathetic, part of autonomic system. D. Parasympathetic, part of autonomic system. That's why the correct answer is the option B. Somatic nervous system. Next question. Which cranial nerve is known as the trigeminal nerve? Option A. Cranial nerve 3. B. Cranial nerve 4. C. Cranial nerve 5. D. Cranial nerve 7. Cranial nerve 3. Oculomotor nerve. Cranial nerve 4. Trochlear nerve. C. Cranial nerve 5. Largest cranial nerve, responsible for facial sensation and mastication. D. Cranial nerve 7. Facial nerve. That's why the correct answer is the option C. So students, ये सब क्वेश्चंस तुम्हारे गवर्नमेंट फार्मासिस्ट GPAT ड्रग इंस्पेक्टर एग्जाम पॉइंट व्यू से मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. इफ़ यू लुकिंग फॉर फार्मेसी एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन, सो ये बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. ठीक है. तो स्टूडेंट्स, ये वीडियो पसंद आए तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर करें। थैंक यू।